there's a slight delay as well when you hit live.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, I am really hoping that we now have a live event up and going. I'm looking to see if I can find it on here, just to double check that we are actually playing. And as I said before, I really do need one of these screens that allows me to get it up and going, because there is a bit of delay. Alrighty. I think we are up and going. I reckon I've just got a notification to say that we are up and going. So let's say, oh, there we go. We've got a little thing to say we're now live on Facebook.
Beautiful.
So we now have. G'day everybody. It's fantastic to see everyone, and I'm hoping that through the time where you are not being able to play archery or any other sport that you may or may not be involved with, I'm hoping that you are keeping yourself safe, both mentally and physically. And I want to say that from Southern Vales Archery Club, welcome to a very special lockdown, or a lockdown special. And today I have been joined being joined by Gregory Player. G'day, Greg.
G'day, Chief. How you going?
I'm good, thank you. And how's yourself?
Yep, good. Trying to stay nice and cool. It's a bit warm today.
It is. I must admit, I'm gonna have to explain this, because both yourself and myself have got two completely different backgrounds. Normally, people have got a room behind them. I'm in a caravan. I'm currently down at Victor Harbour, so I'm a very long way away. And you are
sitting in a truck. Yeah, nice new one, so the aircon works.
Absolutely. So I guess let's start from the beginning, because I said we met. I reckon the first time we met was at the state clout, was it, or at the Southern Vales Archery Club clout?
The state clout at the Arrow and the Powerline event.
I have no idea what you're talking about with that one. We're going to leave that one aside. But yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, there was that I had a really good day. So for clout, for anybody else, for anybody watching that doesn't know what clout is a 100, or for compound and crossbow, is a 180-meter event where you have a target on the ground and you shoot from a shooting line, and you try and basically you shoot the arrows up in the air and they land on the floor. Was that the first time that you'd done clout?
The day before, I shot like 15, 20 arrows with Stephen Hand to figure out how to adjust my sights. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you did really well as well.
Yeah, I won that event. Yep.
Did you really?
By 207 points, I think.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Well, I must admit, one of the and again, for those who aren't sure, but I know there's many that do, but there's a white clout that's in the middle, isn't there? Now, I remember it became a challenge, I believe, for you to hit that.
Well, someone walked up and said, I've made indestructible clouts. And it's like, well, got to test that out. And when you're throwing a 1,000-grain arrow, unless you're making them out of steel, I don't think they're going to hold up. At the very last end, I got the judge's permission to put my arrow through the top to hold it upright so we could shoot the last 6 arrows, because not just me, we blew them all apart throughout the day.
I think I put a few in there as well. There was a number of us that managed to hit that one, much to, as you said, much to the disgrace of Paul, who was our president at the time. He had you're absolutely right. He'd made that claim that we've got 100% indestructible clout, and I must admit that was a bit of a game. But I must say, the look on his face though, when you put because you put an arrow, I think, didn't you put it straight through the stick, and you split the stick in two? I know you're supposed to put an arrow onto an arrow and split the arrow in two, but at 180 meters, that's not a bad go.
Yeah, you raised a good point too, because he didn't let me keep that clout, and I wanted to take it home. And I think I'm allowed to if I Robin Hood the clout. But anyway, each to their own, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
He was a bit sad come the end of the day. Poor bugger. You're all right, mate.
No, he's good. He's good. So I mean, I guess let's start from the beginning. Where or when did you start shooting?
Well, I've had two starts. My parents started the archery club in Rabra called Rocky River Archery Club with a few other people back when I was maybe 2, something like that.
Yep.
And then when I was about 6 or 7, it moved to Pirrie, so where it is in the current location.
Yep.
And they built all that up with a lot of other people, not just them two. And then when I was about 12, I stopped shooting. And then about nearly 3.5 years ago, I came back to archery.
Yeah.
So
were you shooting? Because I think when you can shoot as a junior, when you're up to, or is it a cub up to a certain age? Were you shooting in it competitively at that point, or was it just for fun?
I came down the town a couple of times and shot as under 12. Yeah, but only a few times. I remember once I rocked up and the old man had a bit of a huff and a puff because there was no one for me to shoot against. So they moved me onto the under 14s target. So I actually shot with someone rather than just driving, a 4 or 5 hour trip just to shoot on a target on my own. So
yeah. And that's hard as well, isn't it? And I mean, that's one thing in our sport that's a bonus in that, you can have almost any age shooting, but at the same time, you want to have enough people to compete against. So you've actually got a push, haven't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, especially, I don't know what it's like for city kids, but when I was growing up, like there was one other kid my age shooting at my club, and so if you never seen anyone else your age that even talked about bow and arrow, like you know what I mean? Like it was just completely unheard of. It was quite a unique sort of sport. So if you're in the city, like it's good to see all the kids that know each other and they go, oh, when we shot at Eden on the weekend or whatever, that's great to see. So yeah.
So was there you're at Mid Coast Archers?
Mid North
Archers. Sorry, my apologies on that.
Okay.
So you're at Mid. Is there what sort of, how big's your club? Like what's the membership makeup?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it was at one stage around 40 people. But I think it's a bit lower at the moment. I've heard stories outside of my club that COVID's really knocked memberships down. So we'll have to wait till the dust settles to really find out what the number is.
Yeah,
but
and that's been hard for a lot of sports, isn't it? Because people like to compete, and archery is about competing. And if you don't keep shooting, you do lose a bit of an edge. Admittedly, everybody's losing an edge all at the same time, so we should be in the same boat. But that doesn't help. Do you have many juniors, or male female split? Like what sort of makeup have you got?
Fair few blokes. We got one junior named Caitlin, and she's a bit of a machine. So yeah, you Adelaide people better look out. But no, we don't have a lot of juniors at the moment. We did, and then it sort of died off, and hopefully it comes back again. We need another Hunger Games or a half-decent Robin Hood movie, because that last one was atrocious.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, actually, are you talking about the Robin Hood one where, like, he went off to the Middle East and he could shoot arrows all over the place as if it was magic, but there was a guy that was better than him and then came back and taught him? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't think they should call that Robin Hood. That's a bit rough.
So I'm going to say I actually really enjoyed that one.
oh no.
But, it's each and every one. I mean, it's a complete pure fantasy. So I got to say that, but it was good it was a good entertainment, I thought. But and actually, you're right. Sometimes to have a good movie does bring people into the sport, and it brings people in.
Yeah, or a gold medal at an Olympics, or just something that brings archery back to the limelight, and then it sort of kicks it in the butt again, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Which actually, that's what we were just talking about before, wasn't it? Was that we have we're in Archery Australia for most of our clubs, and Archery Australia, that's the goal, isn't it? Is to try and develop archers not just to come and shoot and have fun. That is obviously part of it, but part of it, Archery Australia is responsible for the Olympics team to try and get up to the point where you can shoot. But obviously, you can only do that with certain bow types. So this recurve is Olympics, I believe.
Yep.
Compound, I think you can go to the Commonwealth. I think it is, isn't it?
Maybe if they want to, and I think you'll find it's only happened once, and maybe the next one that India is going to hold on behalf of England, because I don't know why. Anyway, they might have compound again, but recurve is the to-do sport really in a global sort of sense.
Yeah. And of course, then there's recurve. Then there's compound, and that's got a huge competition all in and by itself. I mean, there's particularly overseas, the US, Europe, the big competition for that, isn't there?
Well, if you listen to people like George Techner dude from Eastern, he'll tell you that recurve in Europe is the game, not compound. It's more us in America that really hammer after the compound, and then Europe's really a recurve sort of area. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when I found that out. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of that might be the going back to those traditional roots of shooting longbow and
hunting's a weird
days, but
hunting, I believe, is also really restricted over in Europe. Like it's not like, so I guess the compounds aren't really sought after for that massive hit and accuracy.
Yeah. So you shoot. What do you shoot? You shoot just compound, or do you shoot compound, recurve, crossbow?
I got a recurve at home for just training and strength and conditioning more than anything. But yeah, you'll probably only ever see me with a compound in my hand.
Yeah. So why did you choose a compound? What was the like the deciding factor for that? Because if you started when you were 12, I'm not saying that you're old.
Oh no, I started heaps younger than that. I finished when I was 12.
Yeah,
that's when I stopped. Yeah, no, I started off with a recurve that Rosny John gave me. Your club should know her.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I could pull the arrow back, and I got it stuck in the back of the riser because I pulled it back too far. And that's when I grabbed a different bow. And then I really wanted a compound, so I had to work my little bum off. And then when I was 9, I got given a compound for Christmas. And so that was the one that I took to state events and things like that.
Yeah. So I mean, because I know when compound first came out, it was one of those hated things that this is not pure archery. This is hated. I mean, where were you sitting in terms of that?
I was too young. And all the big boys, all the grown-ups shooting the big blue arrows were shooting compound. So at that stage, because we're only talking like early 90s, early to mid 90s. Compound had definitely taken a foothold at my club. There was a few people shooting recurve. Don't think I ever seen a longbow as a little fella, not that I remember. And compound was the game. And still remember, just before I finished shooting and everything, Mum just got a set of ACEs, and they were the duck's nuts. Like, you couldn't get any fancy arrows in that at the time.
Yeah.
So, give you a bit of a perspective of the time frame.
Yeah, that's all right. Because I know, because I've got some conversations from people from our club. Some people that have been shooting our club's been going for over 40 years. So, and we've got conversations and little records about people saying, well, no, we don't want this compound thing, this new thing. It's not the same as recurve. And there was one in Archery, South Australia. I think they had a little clip it about someone writing in saying how much this is an evil bow. We cannot have this. It's terrible. We've got to get rid of it somehow. And I'm sure you'd all agree with me. Which obviously the answer was no, because it didn't happen. But I guess from us, we have longbows, crossbows, compounds, recurves, and a few different bows around. So we actually have quite a lot of different bow types.
Same as my club. Yeah, same as my club. We've I think we only have one dedicated crossbow archer at the moment, but we have a good mix of recurve and compound. So it's good. Diversity is great. There's some people that will shoot recurve on indoor and compound outside, and like they really mix it up. So good on them.
Yeah, good. And every bow's got a different feel to it as well, hasn't it? Like it's not just a pick up a recurve and now you've got everything else figured. Like there's techniques, similarities, but there's techniques to each one that really needs to be mastered to be good at it.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly right.
So, one of the other things we were talking about is that one of the good things about archery, and particularly within Archery Australia, is that you can, talking about different bow types, and not everyone does the same thing. Not everybody shoots the same thing either, do they?
No.
The great thing about Archery Australia is that you can go to different clubs to go and shoot different things. So I know I haven't done a massive amount of shooting this year, partly COVID, partly choice, partly doing other things, but I do enjoy getting to other clubs as well, because you get to see the different atmospheres, how different things are done, different courses. But you've saying you've been out and about this year. You've been doing some stuff.
I've been shooting outside the Archery Australia umbrella a little bit, doing the ABA, the Australian Bow Hunters Association, where that's a different experience. It's good fun, but it can be very frustrating as well. You walk up to a target and you go, oh, look, the area I've got to hit's bigger than a 122 centimeter, gold. This is easy. And then they let you know that you can't really tell where the scoring zone is, and you don't know how far away it is, and just good luck. So it really equalises you pretty quickly. You're like, this is great, but you can do some really perfect shots in completely the wrong spot. So no, that's good. And you're right, travelling around. Our club at the moment is just doubling the size of our indoor range, which is pretty awesome. They're taking, grabbing the ball by the horns, I guess you could say. So we'll have 35 metres by 18 or 20 metres. I'm probably got that wrong, but it's big footprint for indoor. And the field's almost done. I stole my mate's grader and ploughed a track through the guts of it. So there's your clout. And we've got a 90 metre outdoor range. So so we're quite lucky in Perry to be able to just have a crack at it all, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the good thing about having clubs in the city, is that not everyone has to do everything. I mean, we've got target and indoor at our club, but we don't have a field or a clout. Not directly. I know some clubs do, but having that ability to go down to Great Southern Archers or Victor Harbour, and go and shoot on their field courses is good. But when you come up to remote places, it's a lot harder to just nip down somewhere on a Saturday morning to do it, isn't it?
Well, Blythe. We've got Blythe, so they've started near Clare, an archery club, United Archers. They're just getting their feet under themselves, which seems to be good. But other than them, who just started, it's Cressy or Whaler are the two closest clubs to us. So you're right. Like, you've got to do some drive. This sport is very driving intense for me. So like, I'll do the RDP or SDP, and I end up driving more than I do actually doing training with people. Yeah. So that's you definitely got to be committed if you're going to start chasing after them sorts of things.
And I must admit, it's a little bit like watching some of the soccer mums, and you're listening to them going, I've got to drive Johnny to here and Gemma to here, and I'm here and here. I've got to split myself in 3 different places, and you just go, wow, that's big. But if you want to compete here, if you want to compete at anything, you've got to be willing to put that effort in, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. There's we're not holding too many tournaments regionally, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
I did the Eastern match play and the Australian Open. They're in Victor Harbour. They are brutal trips to make. Yeah, cool. Yeah, luckily a mate of mine puts me up at his place, so I stay in Adelaide and then shoot down to Victor each day. Like the Australian Open, that was a 3-day shooting event, which is pretty cool, pretty awesome. I reckon everyone should have a crack at it. It's good time, but it's pretty labour intensive in miles and just effort in general just to attend them. Yeah.
Do you find that has an effect on your performance in terms of like how well you shoot? like if you're tired or if you've travelled a lot, or is it better if you stay somewhere and shoot rather than trying to travel? I mean, does it have an effect?
Actually, I've noticed I never sleep as good as if I'm in my own bed. So sometimes I'll drive down and compete because the sleep I get will be better, even though I'm getting up an hour or two earlier than normal. So so it's a bit of a juggling match. I slept out the front gate of Strath once for the state field, the first one I attended. I'm not doing that again. That's I didn't sleep at all. I might as well have driven down that day. But Strath, Victor, anything on that side of the town, it's probably getting a bit too far to like get up in the morning and drive down.
Yeah.
But my law takes me about 3.5 hours if it's good traffic. So, I'm getting up at 4 to make sure everything's set and ready and hit the road at 5 to get there to help set up and things like that. So, you never sleep as good in a different bed than your own. So, you just sort of got to take the gamble.
Yeah. So while we're talking about competitions, what have you won? You won we said you managed to win the state clout that we were talking about earlier. What other successes have you had?
I won Target last year, state Target.
Nice.
Second or third for the state clout, and Rory bumped me last year in the countback, so I came fourth for the state field. But that was enough to get me the I don't know, male compound archery SA thing for last year.
Magic. Done.
Yeah, got bronze with mixed teams at the Australian Open, but my match play hasn't been as good as I wanted it. Obviously, unless you're winning everything, you're never really truly satisfied.
Yeah.
But and bits and bobs here. Yeah, like Masters Games, because we held the Masters Games in Perry. So the state Masters Games, the year that Adelaide held the national Masters Games, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And gave that a good walloping in my age group. Did get teased by a few of my mates, and I'm an old man now, but don't worry about them. I got a fair few bits and bobs at home, but probably the highlight would have been the mixed teams at the Oz Open. That was pretty cool because I hadn't made it to that level and never been to an event where they actually held it properly. Where like our state event, we'll do. We won't have elimination at the state event at the match play. So if you lose, well, you still go in and have another shoot against someone. Where down at Victor, you lose and you pack your bag up and you go home very bitterly and sadly. But if you're winning, it's so much better. So,
Of course it is.
Yeah.
No, magic. Well, look, I'm trying to think if we had we had. It's the trouble is when you discuss things prior to a conversation. Sometimes you kind of cover half of it and then you go, what have we talked about and what have we haven't? Now I'm just going to take the opportunity now to say that we've got there is a video from our previous lockdown. So we have the Bow Doctor coming on and doing a demonstration on how to make, check, repair arrows. Now, which is, as we know, that's one of the things that we do all the time, isn't it? The bane of our lives, to be honest. The most boring part of, I think, archery is putting arrows together. But
that might be one of the most expensive parts of archery for me as well. Pins and knocks, just chewing through them like chewies. Yeah, like you can go out and do a bit of practice, and you just spent $10 in pins and knocks.
Wow!
And now I've got a platform. I'm going to get on my soapbox. A shotgun shell is 33 cents, where a knock is $2.
Yeah,
and there's a lot more in a shotgun shell than there is in a knock.
Yeah,
it's criminal. It's criminal. I'm telling you.
Mind you, if you shot like a shotgun, you wouldn't have to worry about damaging knocks.
Oh, I don't know. Shotguns leave a pretty big hole.
Just play them across the target.
Very true. Very true.
60 meters. I mean, you don't have to shoot in the yellow all the time, do you?
I'll get very sad if I don't. I might rock and cry myself to sleep if I don't hit the gold. I don't think, that's what we were talking about recurve before. I don't think I could mentally ever shoot recurve seriously because I just can't handle not hitting the middle. Like,
Yeah.
So you watch recurve archers and they shoot a really good end. And this is, I know I need to work on this on my mental game. But you watch recurve archers and they go, yeah, I only got like 3 in the red that end, and they're shooting 90 meters and they are ecstatic. And I'm like, I didn't get every single one in the gold. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's and I presume David Barnes probably has the same mentality as me, and he can maintain it, which is very impressive.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, like I just don't think I could handle not being as accurate as I am. Even if you're at the same, yeah, it's quite weird. It would be interesting if you could have a rating system worked out for compound versus recurve, and then see. So a really top level recurve archer shoots 100 ratings, and a top level compound archer shoot 100 ratings, even though the scores are different for the same distance. And that'd be a real good eye opener.
And then to see where the scores sit between the both. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I was watching a guy the other day. He was talking about the difference between being a beginner archer and a consistent archer. And it's strangely enough, he said exactly the same. And I'm sure a lot of the beginners out there that those that are watching or maybe newly started would be going, it's so exciting to get that one right in the middle, to take out the little cross, the spider in the middle. You get so excited. But of course, the more that you play, your group of hitting a target like that, you start to get a better grouping. You get all your arrows together, and eventually you're looking at it in like that, and you then it becomes the norm to do it. And all of a sudden, when you've got one like that and you put one here, all of a sudden you're going, no. And then,
or you could do like I did at the state target the other day and just shoot a 9 on someone else's target. That was a first for me. Yeah, that had a few. Yeah, there was a few lumps in that cuppa I had to swallow. But anyway, you get that.
And you're right as well, though. I mean, archery is very much a mental game. I think I was talking in one of the last state ones, or one of the ones previous. And I was talking to someone and they were going, "Oh no, we've got a red," and I said, "Yeah, but it's a mental thing that you've got a red, rather than a bad thing, because you can shoot all 10s and a red, which could be an 8, and you've got 68 points. But you could shoot all 9s, and that's 54 points. You score more by getting a red than getting all golds. But it's that mental thing that you have to get into that gold, and it's that gold focus that sometimes we need to try and get out of. But that's a hard one as well.
Also, you look at it this way: if you shoot all 9s, you've got a nice group. Where when you shoot an 8 versus an all 10s, you've done something. You've taught the bow. You've anticipated. Like, there's probably guaranteed your shot process is broken down. So you're probably not only angry about the outcome of the shot, but also the process that led to the shot. Like, then you're like, oh, yeah, you get a bit angry at yourself. Like, come on, mate, you know how to do this. Don't do silly things, sort of thing. Yeah.
So let's just talk about like shot process then. My shot process is I put the bow on the floor, I stand on it, I pull the string up, which then puts it into the string catch. I've just forgotten what they're called now.
Trigger.
And then I load my bolt in and I hold it up, and I sort of stand up, I bring it in, I settle down, and then couple of breaths and let it go. So when we're talking about a process, it's about doing the same thing every time, isn't it? So what's your process from a compound point of view? What's your process?
I'm really working at the moment of stopping in between shots, which actually is easier at tournaments because there's a big timer sitting in the middle of the paddock. So I actually watch the timer to stop, because I can just blow through arrows without stopping at all, and that's not good. Got to rest everything, the brain and the body. So I'm working on that. But pretty much I focus on switches. So I switch on and switch off, because you'll hear a lot of people say, you need to be focused. So-and-so that was great would stare at a blade of grass. They wouldn't talk to anyone. They were that focused. If I do that, I'll crash on the way home. I just can't. can't maintain that energy. It seems it takes me a lot more energy to think than it does to walk, which, well, you know, that doesn't surprise me. So I work really hard on my switch, and my switch will be when my release is connected to the string.
Yeah.
And then so I hook my string on, and then I set my front hand. So, but my process isn't each word of this, if you know what I mean. Like it's dump, 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 dump. Like it's not actually talking through each step I do. But then I set my front hand and I preload. So that's why the release goes on first. So that then I pull the bow into my front hand, then come up, look at the target, draw, settle. And then once everything's in, I wrap my thumb around my button, and then I just pull, pull, pull. And I tell myself, pull, 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 and then crack, it goes off. And that's then everything falls down. Have a smile, have a frown, deep breath, start again. So that's all I do.
Yeah. That's a good process. If you've had, given that you've just come back into it and you've had your experience before, from a new archer's point of view, what do you think a new archer should try and concentrate on to actually get to the point where they can shoot competitively?
Arrow count. Arrow count is, you get to a certain point, and arrow count, especially for compound, now recurve, there's a lot of, like, you know, you can't tell an endurance runner to stop running. Like, you know what I mean? Recurve really that takes a lot of energy and strength. But for compound, people seem to use someone squirt my truck and I sort of got sidetracked. So what happens is arrow count's very important because at the beginning level, because you learn your bow and you learn yourself. And you've got to remember, you could have a $20 bow. If you're a beginner, that bow's going to outshoot you day in, day out. Like, I've seen people go, oh, there's something wrong with my such and such brand, because it's every now and again it shoots an arrow off up there just miles away from everything. And it's not. Like, all of us sitting back on the line that have been through it go, it's not the bow. Yeah. Next minute they'll go out, and some of them can do it, so they splurge. Next minute they rock up with 10 grand's worth of gear. And you'd be surprised, that arrow still ends up over there. And after $10,000, they go, shit, all right. Oh, sorry. But they go, all right, maybe it's not my gear. So get yourself a reliable setup and just start pounding arrows. Start working on it and ask questions. Send me a message. I don't care. Send me a Facebook message. I'll answer your questions. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I'll point you in some sort of direction. Like, hell, we've all been there and had a crack. But yeah, at the very beginning, arrow count is very important. And don't forget, there is a mental aspect to it, and you need to look after yourself. And you should work on the mental side as well as the physical side. But I get very angry at a shoot, not a competition, just shooting in general, if the arrow doesn't go where I expect it to. Now, I shoot 9s, I shoot 8s, I shot a 4 at the state field. I knew it was going to that 4 when that arrow left my bow. Very annoying that it went there, but I know it's headed that way. I know it's going over there. It's when an arrow will go there, and I thought it was going over here and things like that. That's lots of arrows are the ones that will let you know that when that shot broke, you had that little bit of hand pressure on that you shouldn't have had there, and things like that. And that's where the lots of arrows come from. And you need to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself that when the arrow doesn't go where it's meant to go, it's because you didn't do the process correctly to get it there. So and that's just shoot more arrows. And buy more knocks.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's good if you can get to the point where you have to buy more knocks. You know you're on the right track, don't you?
Well, I spend more money on knocks and pins than I do on target faces.
Yeah. Which is good. You're getting good there. I guess just pulling it back as well, just for those people that are out there that are just learning, and even it doesn't even have to be learning. For those that are been shooting for a while, you are right. I mean, one of the things is when you're shooting and you think you've got yourself an order and you've got up and you've shot, you even if you do almost exactly the same, So I'm doing this because I'm shooting crossbow, but when you're pulling a bow, your lock, your hand might be under here, but you only have to be up slightly or down slightly for that shot, and it goes somewhere else. But you think you've got your lock in. And what's helpful about talking to other people is that other people will go, yeah, you had your hand there the first time, you went there the second time, and then you were back there. That's why this shot went down there. And that's not something that you can always see yourself. And if you talk to people, you get some coaching that can, particularly at the beginning, what we really want, and you're absolutely right, we want lots of arrows, but we want lots of good arrows too. You've got to get the technique right as well to repeat that technique, rather than 200 arrows doing this will not get you good. 200 arrows of drawing in the same place will get you that consistency as well, won't it? So
that's
training's
right.
important.
I sat the GoPro in the back of the Isuzu facing down on me just to see where my hand's going and things like that. So I guess, yeah, shooting lots of arrows, but yeah, you're also recording and trying to keep an eye on it and things like that. But also, if you're just having fun, just shoot arrows and have fun and laugh. Like, I'll tell you what, one of the best matches I've ever seen was a couple of years ago. It was state match play, and then bloody longbowers were there. And one of them came down to a one arrow shoot off. One of them shot like an 8 or something. Everyone's cheering, including the guy he's shooting against. And then he shoots a 10, and everyone's howling. And it's just the most exciting and fun thing I've ever seen. And the bloke that lost, I thought he was going to take his clothes off and start running around like one of them soccer players. Like, it was brilliant. So if you're enjoying archery for the sheer fact of going out and shooting arrows and having a giggle, don't lose that. Don't think you have to come play the hard game. Like, because when I decided I'm going to shoot 100 rating, that's when things changed from shooting a few arrows and having a giggle to I strap my boots up and now I'm pounding. And it's a different satisfaction I get. It's definitely not a joyous, giggly sort of fun game anymore. So I don't know how to explain that, but yeah, it's definitely different.
Well, it's a focus. I was listening to a lady going back a while ago, and she used to be a piano player, and she said she was brilliant. She was world class. Like, she would pack a stadium because she was that good a player. And one day she just stopped and went and did something else, and people were going, but I can't remember for the life of me. I can't remember what it was, but she went off to do something completely different. And people were looking at her going, but why are you doing this? She's going, you're so good at it. And she went, yeah, but it's not fun anymore. It's she had been doing it when she was a kid, and she used to love it, and she used to love performing, and she used to love like having that. It was something that gave you joy. And she said, at some point I lost that, and it just becomes something that I did, and that's it's sort of what happens when you compete. When you compete, it's quite good fun, because at the beginning, eventually you get that gold in the middle. You go, yes, I got one. But when it gets to the point where that's the expectation, as we were saying earlier, that's the expectation, and you got to keep bashing it back. And if you're coming out, sometimes that's fun gone, but that's also part of competing. It's a bit like a good relationship. The relationships are fun to begin with, but then they start to get, you start to cement them, and you start to, settle down and support each other. It can still. I
didn't know where you were going there.
Yeah,
and I was presuming your missus doesn't watch it.
She's sat just outside here, actually.
Oh no!
And she's sticking her tongue out to me too. But it's still fun, but it's a different sort of fun. It's a different enjoyment, and that's the sort of kind of the same thing. Once you get into competing, that's a different sort of satisfaction. It's not the happy joy. Yes, I've got one in the middle. It's a different satisfaction.
Yeah, and it's addictive. That perfect shot with that perfect feeling, the perfect break, and that soft squishy sound at the end. You just, I don't know. It's bloody brilliant, As much as I don't enjoy I got 6 and a gold like I used to. That perfect, that one shot, that perfection, and that's what, really. So standing in the horse float at 9 o'clock at night, freezing my ass off with a dolphin torch shining up at the roof so I can see.
Yeah.
That is for that one shot that just feels perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's and to be honest, that's what we're, for a lot of us, that's what you're aiming at. Even in the hunting too, in the bow clubs, you're aiming for that shot that you can actually get spot on. And it really doesn't matter whether you target or field or whatever it is. You're absolutely right. You're looking for that perfection, and there's nothing like it. I agree with that. Particularly when you hear them one go in and you hear the other land right next to it. You hear that little fletch just go. Yeah. And then you hear the next 4 follow it, and you get all 6 right in that clump. Meanwhile, you're looking in your scope and you're going, I don't know if there's 1 or 6 in the middle. Oh no! So you get a bit of tension building up as well, don't you, as you're doing it?
Oh, that's it. That's why I don't look at my scope.
Yeah.
You'll notice I'll take a scope out during practice and this is, I don't do it for 50 meters like QRE sort of stuff. Only for like the feeder stuff because eyes aren't as good as they used to be. So I set up a scope, I shoot some arrows. I'll shoot like one end of competition and I'll go, my sights are right. If it's not in the middle, it's because I didn't do it right. And I'll take the scope off the line because it's a pain in the bum, bloody scope in the way. And I don't need to be constantly looking to see where that arrow goes. Don't worry, it's gone now. It's out the quiver. It's gone into the target.
Yeah.
The next one's the one to chase. So I don't even play around with scopes, and sometimes I'm probably quite annoying on the field because I normally forget my monocular as well, and I'm like, oh, where'd that one go? So you get that.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, I've got a quick apology, by the way, to anybody if anyone's left any questions in the chat. I as I said, I'm actually not at home at the moment. I'm in a caravan, so I haven't got the Facebook sat next to me. So if you've put any chats in there and any questions, I do apologise. If there's any questions that I can answer, I'll try and jump on and answer them after the fact. Look, Greg, thank you so much for joining me today.
That's right.
It's been really good talking to you. One of the things I will say, one of the things that I've really loved about archery is the community and getting to meet other people. Yep. And I've got to say, you're one of those blokes that I have a fond memory of those times of shooting next to you, because you have fun doing it, and it's good. It's good to get that build those relationships as you go.
I don't understand why clout isn't the biggest form of archery in Australia. Like, how many kids do you see rip a bow back as hard as they can and just launch an arrow when they think no one's watching them?
Yeah.
And you're like, we can do this as grown-ups and we're allowed to. Like, why isn't everyone just throwing arrows as far as they can? It's bloody brilliant. And the hardest thing with clout is this is very, very serious. It's a state event, and you let this arrow go and it goes wiggling off into the sky. There's nothing. I couldn't find an arrow that could handle 1,000 grain. So anyway, it's wiggling all over the joint, and then it would disappear as it hit the hills. Yeah. Next minute, you watch that clout have an epileptic fit, and you're like, yeah! Oh, sorry. Because you just waited like 3 seconds for it to get there. Yeah, that was quite hard, not cheering yourself on, but yeah. But all right, well, I better go tip this load off.
Beautiful.
Yeah, have a good one. Thank you very much. Anyone wants to ask me, send me a message. I'll have a yarn. And we'll see you after the COVID.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. And don't forget as well, for everybody that's listening, we've also got grants, bow doctor, check out the arrows, fit them, renew them, check them, and make them work. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and we will catch you next time.